Quick video to talk about DSLR controller. This is something I've mentioned before, but I haven't talked about it since getting the 70D, and it's got a really nifty feature. Because the 70D has Wi-Fi, the DSLR controller can actually replace the Canon's EOS app and talk to the 70D without any wires, without any intermediate devices. Now, if you don't own a 70D, if you have some other Canon camera, you can still do the wireless thing with a intermediate device. They have all of the directions on their website. This is the Chainfire XDA guide, and really, really good app. But anyway, DSLR controller, it's $8. I want to show you how it works and some of the things that you can do with it in this video. First thing we need to do is set up our 70D Wi-Fi, because the 70D is going to be the thing that acts as the access point that the phone running the app connects to. So let's take a look at that. Okay, setting up Wi-Fi on the 70D is pretty straightforward. You want to go into your menu. Now, if you don't see all of these options across the top, you need to be in one of your letter modes on the dial. I'm currently in M mode, but if you're in the green A, that is not one of your letter modes, that's one of your basic modes, that it will show you a much more abbreviated menu. Alright, so I have all this option. I'm in the third wrench, and I've enabled my Wi-Fi. I have to be in still photo mode for that. It can't be in video. I'm going into my Wi-Fi function, and I need to register a nickname for this camera. I'm lazy. I'm going to call it QWERTY, and I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. And now I have an option of what kind of Wi-Fi function I want to use. When using DSLR controllers, you can actually use the Connect to Smartphone or the Remote Control EOS utility, but I've had much more luck, and it's much more straightforward, in my opinion, to use the Connect to Smartphone. So I'm going to connect to smartphone. The camera is going to act as the access point. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to do manual connection. Click OK. QWERTY is the name. Click OK. And manual settings, I'm going to leave that on 1, and I'm not going to do any encryption. I'm not really worried about other people connecting to my phone, but you can turn that on if you want. It will all still work. So it's just SSID called QWERTY. Now what I need to do is switch over to the phone and connect to that Wi-Fi point. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is connect to the wireless point that we created with the 70D back there. That was called QWERTY. So I'm just going to select that in my wireless access point and say connect to. And it takes just a second, and it should connect to that. And it is connected now. So we can go into my home screen, a little messy, ignore that, and we can open up DSLR controller. And now it's searching for devices. Takes it a minute. You heard the click back there from the 70D. I'm getting this warning because I have back button focusing turned on and focusing turned off from my shutter button up front. That's completely okay, and the application works just fine. This is now letting us know that we've connected to the camera via Wi-Fi, disabling all video functions. That is a camera feature or this feature, if you want to call it that, and we won't be able to do anything with DSLR. That's true with the EOS app and the DSLR controller too. So I'm just going to click OK, and there's this beautiful still life scene that we've created here. Moving down the left hand side, we have a row of buttons. The first one lets us know that we're in manual mode. You can touch that. You can't really do anything with it because there's no way to change the dial through this app. You are in whichever mode you're on the camera. Your autofocus mode right here, sorry, not mode, but actually being able to autofocus back and forth using those buttons across the top. We can back out of that. Oh, not the whole thing. Next is the autofocus mode. Let's say we want to go with live. And that gives us, let's see if I can get that button back away. There we go. That gives us this little box, and we can then drag this little box. Now, you know, it's a little less exciting because the 70D does have a touch screen already, but it's still pretty nice to be able to do this wirelessly, where we can drag that box up here. That's not always the most responsive. And now you can see that it's focused on that back there. Now, notice that these have turned black over here. That happens often, and I call that a bug. There's a couple different ways usually to get that back and working again. If you go into your options, which we'll look at in just a second, and then come back out, notice that there are clickable buttons again. You have your picture styles right here, so you could come over here and say I want monochrome picture style, and now everything is in black and white. You can come down here. I actually don't even remember what that button does. Oh, you can switch your drive mode. So I want it to take silent pictures. And let's go ahead and take a picture. So you can hear that that was in silent mode. It took that picture. It's going to automatically transfer that over. In options, you have a lot of controls about how you set that. And there is the picture now, 5 megabytes, because I am shooting a JPEG, not RAW. It will transfer full RAWs over. I can hit this little gear button and say, share this image. That opens up your normal Android share screen. I can transfer it to local storage, or I can just delete it off the camera or the phone, both. So I'll come back here. You can set your white balance, and I don't remember what that button does either right there. But here's where I think it gets really nice. I'm shooting at f5.6 right now. Well, I can go down to, here's my aperture. I'm shooting with the 40mm f2.8. So I can go all the way to f2.8, and we should see the screen get brighter. Oh, my ISO is on auto. So let's put our ISO up on 1600. Now let's go to our shutter speed, and the camera stabilized, so I could go down to maybe 1/8 of a second, and we should see the screen get much, much brighter. So I'm controlling this camera in real time, all of those settings, and we've lost the buttons again, so I'm going to do my menu trick, back button, and they're all back again. It's a little buggy, as I said. If anybody has experienced that and knows a permanent fix for it, let me know, but my fix has been that. There we go, back up to 1/80th of a second, and you can see your little exposure meter down here. It is still suggesting that it's slightly overexposed, and I can still drag this to focus at any time, and it refocuses quite nicely for me. You can zoom in over here. You can see a histogram overlay, which is quite nice, and a color histogram, very similar to what it shows on there as well. And we already looked at the picture button. This is also the number of shots we have left and the battery of the camera. Now, you know, streaming the Wi-Fi or streaming the live view wirelessly does eat battery life up. I've seen that. I've actually even seen this. I use this with the USB host cable in my 5D Mark III often, and it really eats through battery as well when you're outputting the image. So you've got a lot of different options in the options panel of this app, DSLR Controller. The ones that I think are really cool is time-lapse. So you can get in here to time-lapse and set up that you want a shot interval of 2 seconds, 100 shots, no wires, nothing else other than this app, and your camera will now be triggered. Now remember, I just said that you are going to eat battery life up. You can turn that live view off though, so you're controlling the camera without the live view after you've got your shot set up. You have a lot of different options up here. You can do HDR and auto exposure bracketing. You can bracket your depth of field, which is a really neat way of taking multiple images at multiple focus points and then stacking those to create large depth, very small macro shots, which is quite cool. But we're going to cancel back out of that and come back to here. Click the little gear button again. You have a timed bulb shot. So you do have to put the camera in bulb mode. So I'm reaching over here, putting the dial on B. Bulb mode, the camera shutter stays open for as long as you tell it to. If you don't have any device, it means you holding down the shutter button actually. But in this mode, you can go in there to that. Where were we? We were under timed bulb shot. And you can put in some amount of time. And it will basically, quote unquote, hold down the button for you, which is quite nice. Let's go ahead and say that. So it's going to take a 2-second exposure. Now, I of course could have done that through the shot, totally blown out. But the point is, you could do 100 seconds. When you do it straight through the camera, you're limited to 30 seconds until you move into bulb mode. So that is quite handy that you can change that. And let's go back into the settings and look briefly at some of those time-lapse. Bramper is very interesting, not yet implemented, but it is nice to think about that coming. That allows you to smoothly change the exposure over the course of a time-lapse. Very, very powerful. That is the best way to capture those sequences from dawn with the sunrise or the reverse, dusk with the sunset. You can sync time, so you can take, your cell phone should be very accurate because it's getting its time from the cell towers, which gets its time from the atomic clocks, and you can beam that over to the camera, so that information. Now, we could say what quality images we want here, and you can, as I said, shoot RAW, and of course the 70D allows small RAW. There are apps for your, and I'm using a phone, but you could use a tablet to connect to this and bring those over and then edit RAW files. There are Android file apps that will allow you to do that. And you have your live view resolution. You can change that from high, medium to low. Low is going to be less laggy and give you a faster response rate. You can see my hand going up and down very smoothly there in the background. The higher the quality, the more lag you're going to have there. So it depends on what your goal is and how you want to do that. I don't know a lot. I don't know all of these options, but they're pretty straightforward when you, actually those are all straightforward there. And this is Chainfire XDA on Twitter and Google+. As I said, an $8 app. I think well worth your money if you want to be able to do more than the EOS app allows you to do. And one big limitation of the Canon EOS app is the images that come over are always going to be small JPEGs. I think it's 1920 by 1080 is the largest size that it will move over. And of course you can't do time lapse. And you know, some people balk and say I've never paid more than 99 cents for an app, but this app is very full featured and I think worth your time. If you've got any questions about this app, just leave a comment down below. If you know how to get rid of that bugginess, I'd love to hear it. If you want to know iOS options, I don't know them. I know there's Cam Ranger. That is a device that you plug in on the camera side and then wirelessly will talk to your iOS device. It is $299 because it is a physical device that you have to have plus the app. I believe there are some other Bluetooth type options, but really for us Android users, DSLR Controller is awesome. And it works with a variety of cameras. They have a free app when you go to the DSLR Controller, which I'll link right down below. They have a free app for you to test and make sure that it will work on your device and with your camera. But it works very, very consistently and reliably with all of, no, I shouldn't say all, with most of the Canon apps. So thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I produce lots of videos like this with tips, ideas, tricks, and all kinds of photography related content. And your subscription is an easy way to thank me for my time. Thank you.